Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Welcome.
We have a special guest with us today from Germany, Conrad Buck, and the name of his company is Mars Orbiter. He repairs electric vehicles, has been in the industry for a number of years, and specializes in Teslas, including the Tesla Roadster, which not too many people on the planet are able to work on.
Absolutely.
Are you there, Conrad? Are you with us?
Yeah, sure. Hi, folks.
There he is. Maybe we can start with you telling us, how did you pick the name Mars Orbiter for your auto repair company?
Well, actually very easy. When you think about wait a few hours, well, for me, it's only a few hours when it's dark and you take some good goggles and you check out in outer space what car is flying around there.
Okay.
It's a Tesla Roadster.
Right.
We all don't know the condition of it. Maybe it's going to be the Roadster, which is worth the most in the whole world. But, you know, Ellen is going to give it to you for free if you pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm convinced. So that was the idea to call this company Tesla Roadster, because a couple of years ago, I bought my first own Roadster. To even go back a bit more further, I'm actually a TV mechanic. I've always been a car enthusiast, but well, I fixed TVs, I fixed CCTV cameras, etc., etc. And at some stage, I read those magazines, Popular Mechanics, also to keep up with my not such good English, as you can hear, but you may apologize that. So at some stage, I read about the GM EV1.
Mm-hmm.
And this story was completely out here. Nobody heard about it. It was a top secret issue. So the EV1 wasn't there. It wasn't existing. We only knew combustion engine cars. We in Germany, we have a huge industry of Volkswagen, of Audi, of Mercedes-Benz, of Opel, of Ford, etc., BMW, you name them all, Porsche. And nobody wants to know about electric cars, or wanted to know about electric cars. So I was watching this thing. I was watching the issue at some stage. It was who was the guy who made that beautiful movie, Who Killed the Electric Car? Chris Payne was his name. Yeah, he made this wonderful movie. And I thought, gosh, what did they do to this car? And at the same time, I had a friend, he worked as a test driver for Opel, and he came around with an Opel, some of those little station wagon kind of things, and it was fully electric driven. I said, hey, gosh, what's that? And he said to me, yeah, that's a new thing. We're building a nice sports car in America already, and it's not on the market. I'll let you know. And everything was silent about it. I even forgot about it myself. And 2 years later, it was in the late 90s, he phoned me and told me, listen, I gave you once some press paper, some press release of this vehicle. I still got it somewhere. I'm going to pick it out later and show you. So it was a full-on press map about the Opel EV1, also a design for a hydrogen engine, for whatever gas engine, for fuel cell, etc. A whole map with pictures, and it was all those pictures from the EV1 in America labeled with Opel. So he told me, you must give me this prospect back. You must give it back to me. It's not supposed to go public. I said, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, now I thought, look, I don't know where it is. It's just gone. So, well, if you ever find it back, just destroy it, burn it, whatever. It's not supposed to go public. It's true. So the same way as they took from you the electric cars, those nice little EV1s, they never even told us about it, because there it was only a little bit of oil. You know, I give you the lamp for free, I sell you the oil. Here they wanted to sell us cars and oils. It's not even 30 km from here. It's a huge plant of Volkswagen where they build all the gearboxes, by now also electric motors. So huge plant there. We've got 300 kilometers further, which is for you 200 miles more or less, I would say, even a bit less. We've got the major Volkswagen factory a bit to the south. We've got the major Mercedes factory, etc. Nobody wants electric cars. All right. So I was watching it, and then I found out there was the AC propulsion. That, Pete, was the issue why I wanted to sit in this poorly burned little the AC propulsion you have there. One day you're going to restore it, I'm convinced, or you rebuild one. You
Well,
have to.
Well, you know what we ended up doing? We took that rusted Hulk, all of the body panels, the fiberglass burned off, of course, but the frame was there, and
Okay.
we sandblasted it and we painted it the same color yellow as the original. The original T0 was. Then we put batteries in it, all 28 of them, to show where those lead acid batteries were in the car. And then we went a step further. We mounted it on a red wall in our service center vertically. So everyone that walks in now sees that car up there with the batteries exposed and a 70-inch flat screen showing pictures of what the car used to look like. So it is living
Oh,
on.
that sounds cool.
Yeah.
It's alive. Okay, one day when it's running, I promise I come around and take it for a ride.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We found a fourth one. There were only 3 built in 1997,
Okay.
but there is a fourth one that actually one of the employees at ACP began to put together, and he's been working on it for the last 10 years plus. And eventually there may be a fourth T0 out there.
There might be.
Yeah. But anybody that is listening that wants to see what we're talking about here, if you go to the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles, they have 2 of them on display right now. The other 2, in other words. We have number 2, and
Yeah.
then VIN number 1 and 3 are at the Peterson Auto Museum for another 4 months or so. And so you can actually see one of these early vintage electric vehicle sports cars that, in our estimation, really started the whole EV revolution. From there, it went to Roadster, and suddenly it ignited with Tesla making the sedans after that.
Well, but that long story before I'm carrying away. So I watched the story, and I found out some guys were building the AC propulsion, and couple of magazines later, there was this little Tesla Roadster, and I thought, wow, that's a car. That's a hell of a car. I was driving Alphas. I was driving American cars. I was driving sport Opels. At my latest real beloved sports car was a Dino GT4, one of those 2-liter V8s with the engine square in the back. I love that one. I could afford it because it had a broken engine, so I restored it with a Polish machine or race car master. It's called Eddie Obara. He's a hell of a great guy. So we fixed this car, and then when I was almost ready, with my CCTV business, what I had, we came from Switzerland, and we had a trailer with one of those lifters, one of those scissor lifters on. And we had to detour a traffic jam by Frankfurt. Yeah. So we drove to the city, and in the middle of the city, there is a place called the Opera Tower, the Opernturm, and they opened a Tesla store right there. And I looked there. I was dirty, had my work clothes, everything on. I just stopped the car in the middle of the road, put on a hazard, and said to my worker next to me, says, "You watch the car. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to check what they have." So they had a Model S. So it was 2013 when they introduced the Model S. I only barely, I saw a live Roadster in 2009 in Berlin, but it wasn't driving. They weren't allowed to drive that car in Germany, as they were saying, well, the electric emissions, and we don't know, it's designed for 60 hertz. It's not allowed to drive here. The only electric cars we had here on the road was those little 3-wheeler things, that funny golf cart thing what Peter's got in his yard there would say 0 emissions. You know, the one we were driving around when I was there was Willie. So nobody wanted to know about a proper EV. So the only proper EV then was a Renault with a range of almost 40 kilometers. Wow, under perfect conditions. They said, "You guys are mad. What do you want this crap for?" And then the Renault salesman told me, "Look, they've got Tesla Roadster outside, but it's not driving." So I watched this one, and they said, "Well, we can't drive, but wait a bit. We're going to have a limousine, a sedan, something big, something huge, something great." So there it was in Frankfurt in that store, and I watched it there. I went in, and I thought, I can't resist. I must buy that thing. So it was unaffordable for me with a small business, but I made a plan. And then somehow, even that we only had 3 superchargers in Germany by the day, and one wasn't even ready, one wasn't even working. I worked out that, well, if I drive that thing, and I drive it carefully, and it really does what they promise me. It's going to be cheaper than any fuel car, and it's going to be clean, and it's going to be fun to drive it. So in those days, they gave me a Model S a week for test drive, which was a killer at those days. Today, well, let's not talk about Tesla company right now. I see you laughing. Well,
we're being kind.
Yeah, me too. So I got one of those, and I used it for my business. And I said, well, what will my customers say? I come with this expensive car, but they all said, wow, you got an EV. That's great. You want electricity? So I got a cable everywhere. I got power everywhere. I drove through the whole of Europe with this Model S. It's still around. A good friend of mine bought it 3 or 4 weeks ago from me. It's got now, I don't know, 340,000 kilometers. Never gave me any trouble, but besides some standard crap like by the axle, some bearings, what all cars have.
Yeah.
So it's not a Tesla problem. And then when you think they designed that thing within 2.5 years and they brought it on the road, how long does another manufacturer need to bring a car on the road?
Yeah.
Well, I had the problems that anybody else had with early Model S. The drive unit started singing. So they exchanged it once, they exchanged it a second time and third time, but it was no trouble because it was easy. You went to the service center, everybody was friendly, everybody was nice. I said, look, you need a loaner, you need some coffee, whatever, we do it. It was a pleasure to go to a workshop, and they served us nice. So one day they said, well, we're not ready with that car yet, but it will need 2 hours. I said, what shall I do? Nothing is around here. So he threw a key to me and said, there's a Roadster, take it for a ride. It was a very expensive ride because I had to buy one of those afterwards.
Yeah. Understood. Yes, that was a very smart move on their part. You know, Tesla.
Yeah, well, then it was the issue. The car had some issues. I didn't have it for 3 or 4 weeks, and I had ID7 showed up. Pete, you know what I'm talking about? The rivet issue. Well, I didn't know anything about this EV. I just had an error message, so I went to the store and they told me, look, this is going to cost you 10 grand. I said, I just got a red lamp there. Everything is okay. I'm driving. I just got a red lamp and I bypassed this. Yeah, well, you need this box here new. So they wanted to sell me a PEM. Right now, I know it would have been the wrong thing. They would have sold me because it needed something else. So me, TV mechanic, some electric car. So, well, I fix it. So I did. And it was okay. It was, in fact, the thing was I found out about the insulation thing. I came on that insulation thing because you, Pete, you had in some forum you had written something about it, that there's a thing. So I opened it and said, wow, this is crap. And well, finally the PEM was okay. I still had the error message on the battery, and then I found out, okay, it must be the rivets on the sheets. Right. You guys know what I'm talking about. Something on the sheets that needs to be replaced. Tesla knew it. They repaired it on those cars which were into warranty, and the other ones, they never did anything. So, well, my car was running. The next one came, say, can you do that on my car as well? And on my car as well. So I thought, well, it's getting a bit too much because I'm getting here into automotive issues, and we've got other regulations than you in America. If you want to open a car repair shop, you need to follow some certain rules. You need to have a master for your company. You need to have trainings. You need to serve certain standards. And well, some friends of mine, Willie, you met him. He was just earlier on the door. He's outside having a brunch right now. He came with his Roadster around and says, look, I've got this G-Demo kit. You also know what I'm talking about, was to be able to charge SHA-Demo on a proper protocol. I think it was from the Leaf 1, when I think it's right. So we fitted that thing, and then he said, well, we can fast charge. That's nice. So what do you do when you can fast charge? And then we had the idea, well, let's report ours for the first 24-hour race for electric vehicles. That was in 2018. So we reported there, or we signed in for there. And of course, we won. You go to a race because you want to win. So we won. And this race, it was the Eco GP still happening. And as far as I know, nobody ever reached the amount of laps we did with this yellow Roadster in those days. In fact, I'm going to take you here to the boot of this orange one.
Uh-huh.
Because in there I still got, I hope the boot doesn't make any. It even opens. And there is my yellow jersey from the 2018 Tesla Roadster Eco
There we
GP.
go. That's
The winning
great.
jersey. Yes.
Oh, well, so there's the thing. There I am. So we won this race, and then we decided, look, so many people ask for repairs on their cars. So you open a workshop, get guys together. So I met a master, a car mechanic master, who didn't want to work in the car industry anymore because he said, nah, it's too oily, it's too stinky, I don't want that. So I said, what about electric cars? I said, hey, I drive an electric car. So he's driving a Peugeot Ion. He's the guy who now drives my Model S. So we said, let's found a company. So we started in a little garage fixing Roadsters. And the more we fixed Roadsters and the word got around, Pete, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, yes.
Quickly, Roadster. Everybody got a Roadster. Everybody got an issue, what Tesla can't serve or can't sort out, or what is too expensive at Tesla. And I even realized what was the problem in the beginning was that they didn't allow their technicians to open up a PEM. They didn't allow anybody to open up any electric part there. For some reason, they wanted to keep that for the engineers, or I don't know if they were worried that something's going wrong or that somebody gets hurt or gets an electric shock. It must have been an issue at Tesla thinking about those things, because when you compare a Roadster towards all other electric vehicles that are on the market, it's one of the safest ever made.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's
That's true.
seriously, whatever you grab where there's an orange cable, you just touch it and beep, and it's off.
Yeah.
All kinds
And
of
it's
interlocks.
self-repairing.
Yeah.
You connect it again and you start the ignition, or you restart the car and boom, I'm alive. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
know,
it's-
the early engineers at Tesla freely admit that at the time they were working on the Roadster project, they had no idea how to do anything like this. You know, the multi-cell, the main propulsion battery. Martin Eberhard says that we actually overcompensated in a number of areas. And you've opened them up. There's actually a smoke detector on some of the early ones inside the battery pack. You've got the
I've seen
immersion
one,
loop. Yeah, so if it gets wet, you know, it'll shut down. There are interlocks and safety mechanisms everywhere. And he said the fundamental reason was they were concerned. They didn't know how this electric car would function and how it would, as it went through its normal paces. You know, you get into a collision, you get into an accident, you drive it into a lake. They wanted to overcompensate for all of that. But that doesn't mean that the cars later on are less safe. It just means that they put a lot of attention into the Tesla Roadster.
Yeah, absolutely. I still, can you guys imagine how the first technicians like Martin and Mike Terpenning and the ones which were involved when they had the first glider where they put their engine, their power electronics, and the first lithium pack by Martin in there, and the first one put down the lever.
Uh-huh.
And the thing like whoosh, walked off, and everybody's, it's working. This is working.
You know, the funny story about that is too. Do you remember the cash infusion by Daimler in the early
Yes.
days? And so what Elon wanted to do was to electrify the little smart car.
Yes.
And they weren't able to sell it in the United States yet because it didn't get DOT approval. It takes a while to get these things approved, right? So this is legendary. He allegedly took a pile of money. He gave it to one of the technicians, and he said, drive down to Mexico City and buy one of these smart cars, because we can't buy one in the United States. So he did. He went down there, bought the smart car, drove it all the way up to Palo Alto, and then they electrified it with the Tesla Roadster drivetrain. Then they happened to find out that some of the Daimler engineers were going to be in the United States at a trade show, and I think it was in Chicago. And they talked them into coming out to see them. They didn't tell them about the smart card electrification yet, but they talked them into coming to see the Tesla factory. So these guys got there, and they had already done the visits to the other places that they were going, and they were hungover. I mean, when you go on these junkets, generally alcohol is involved.
Oh, yeah.
And they were in a conference room at Tesla, and they had a wonderful PowerPoint presentation that they were scrolling for these engineers, trying to impress them and eventually show them the smart car. Well, they hadn't gotten there yet, and Elon looked out and saw that they were falling asleep because they were so badly hungover. So he said, okay, drop the PowerPoint. We want you guys to come with us out into the shop area, and we're going to show you something. So that was their first introduction, supposedly, to this electrified smart car. He then handed them the keys, and he said, go drive it on the parking lot, have some fun. And they had so much power in this little smart car that it was popping wheelies. And of course, that was pretty impressive to the engineers. They took that information back to Daimler, and the next thing you know, Daimler is interested in collaborating with Tesla to electrify and create that EV version of the smart car.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful
you want to
stories
see my
like
daily
that.
driver? I'm going to take you for a little walk.
Yes,
please.
yes, absolutely.
This is there you see you've seen there's one Roadster in our showroom. Of course, a pinball machine for after work.
There you go.
Here you go. We'll be going the main hall.
Isn't it amazing how clean those EV shops are? For those of you watching this, there isn't a spot of oil anywhere.
No oil anywhere. There's a Roadster and a Roadster. As I can tell, we also fix Tesla Roadsters.
We see that. How many do you have in the shop right now?
Today is not that many. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's my daily driver in the back.
There we go. Look what we have there.
There we go.
Yeah.
This is the car what you might have seen what I was driving when there was the classic mountain race. So I was driving the safety car. And this is my daily smart Roadster. No, this is a coupe. The other one is a Roadster. There you go. It's a convertible top.
Very nice. It's got the little E on the side. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and they are pretty fast. This one, you've got a tow bar.
Okay. Pull a camper and a boat with that guy.
Yeah.
Very nice.
There's a rare Magna Orange Roadster, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the European market, one of the very last ones with a number over 1,000, which is quite rare.
Now, that's a color I haven't seen. So that's not the very orange. What did they call that color?
They call it Magna Orange.
Magna.
And as far
Orange,
as Magna Orange, as far as I'm concerned, there was only 3 or 4 built of those ever.
Interesting.
And they were with the European series. They made something like the last 41s, and at the last 41s you could choose a special color, and this was one of those. In here it doesn't look so nice, but when you drive it in the sun, you're like, wow, you flash.
Yeah, very nice.
There's a red one. This is a nice signature from Switzerland. We have those signature 250 in Europe, which are a bit different to your signatures, because your signatures are the 1.5 model, and as you can see, this one's got the 2.0 console in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is a nice one.
Yeah.
This guy owns 4 Roadsters. Is a nice, really nice guy. In fact, you might have it the same in America, that there's many customers who have more than one Roadster. I don't know. It's addictive, those things. Well, then there we've got another room up here. This is not a Roadster. This is EV is not for sale. That's mine.
Okay.
Here we're for tires and whatever. Now we're fixing our trailer. Something's wrong with the brakes.
Okay.
Then I've got another room, which is storeroom. We might bring a paint shop in here at some stage.
Okay.
Well, there you see a Model S.
Okay.
And an old transporter. Some Roadsters waiting. Oh well, Pete. What do I tell Pete? Roadsters everywhere around, and I feel well with many Roadsters around. And as you can see, we also got our battery packs in the back. We do some recoveries. We do that in a different way as you do them. It's just a technical thing. whenever I come to an ESS, which is not recoverable when it's in the car, I do not recover sheets outside the car. Once I can't measure any voltage on any brick, I leave it.
Yeah.
Because one thing I learned from you, Pete, don't overcharge a battery.
Yes.
Yes, we learned that the hard way in our first fire
Yeah.
in 2017.
This is another signature, number 76, in this nice signature red. And here we've got a wheel alignment issue or wheel alignment thing made. So the jack underneath is brand new, but the alignment center itself is a bloody old one, because we are able to program it on our own values. And one thing we learned with Tesla Roadsters, this synergy between Lotus and Tesla was Tesla made beautiful electric gears for it. Lotus made beautiful sports cars, but they didn't work together. They made an electric sports car. Lotus, they took the wrong measure, or the other way around. You have a car which is 400 k's more heavy than the standard Lotus in the back, and you're giving it the same shocks. You just supply it with other springs, which is not the right thing.
Right.
The guys at Lotus filled in the wrong liquid in the batteries in the beginning. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I did not.
The cooling liquid what we have in there is actually the simplest, the G11 we call it here. It's this greenish yellowish stuff. And the ones at Lotus, the technicians, they thought, oh well, a nice sports car, let's put the best we have in there. So they put some red cooling liquid in there. And this liquid is perfect for a combustion engine, for a sports car which gets hot. In the Tesla Roadster, it never got warmer than 45 degrees. Even that is already like almost dead for the engine. And it created something like a jelly in there and even crystallized in there. So many customers got problems with their cars because, let me turn it down a little bit so it's better. They got problems with their cars because the temperature went too high. And then they came to the conclusion, well, we have to open up all those little pipes on the battery, scratch the crystals out and fill it with new liquid.
Yeah.
That's what we still do sometimes with cars which are in first hands or even second-hand cars. I'm not telling you any news that the most the cars suffer from is lack of service.
Yeah.
Because people heard we get an electric vehicle, we've got no timing belts, no oil, no gears, no blah, 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 no spark plugs, all this crap. We don't have to change this stuff. So why go there? We never break, we recuperate. So there's no service. And when you get those cars, Lotus makes nice cars, but the standard stuff, for example, the bushings in the wishbones, is sad quality. And especially sad quality when you think that the car is 400 kilos more heavy than an Elise. So when you go to Tesla and you tell them, my car goes like a rubber duck, they tell you need new wishbones because they don't exchange the bushings. So the quote you get lets you think, oh, maybe I come back tomorrow. Today is no good for me, because you don't just have 10 grand because your car is swimming a bit. So over years and years, nothing has been done. And as we know, as we all Roadster owners, drivers, repairmen know, for a prototype, those cars serve so well. They do such a great job. In the heat of Arizona, on the salty roads of Norway, in winter, I don't know. They last. Those things last. I've got a customer in Holland. He's got far over 450 kilometers by now. It's a signature car. He bought it when it was just new. Really nice guy. He comes every now and then. He is happy. We replaced his cells. The degradation was that much. He had only a CAC of, I think, was 79 or 80.
Oh, wow.
That's low, yeah.
And I said, how far can you go? I said, well, if there's no mountains, I make my 120, 130 kilometers. Still better than an electric Golf. So I said, okay, drive it.
Yeah.
So one day we had a battery from a donation car, so he can drive better now. awaiting his 3.0 second series, as this first series was not the best experience I made with the batteries. With the second series, I got told by good technicians from Tesla that they must be good now. They say they're good. Let's hope they're good.
Yeah.
What I do not believe is, as you predicted, Pete, you say that it's a question of time that the old batteries die. I say once they're properly treated, once you don't drive when it's too hot, once you don't kill them with full acceleration just after charging, or once they're too full or too empty, I think we can drive those cars another 10 years with those batteries.
Really, that would be optimistic. Yeah. You know, we're all surprised. JB admitted that they had a 10-year design life in these packs. Here we're going on 15 years now, and a lot of these Roadsters still have their legacy packs, the original battery packs. By the way, Conrad, we have questions coming in, and then we can get right back to this. So the first one is, did we watch the live Aptera event? We did not. It's from YouTube PC. We'll have to look into that, guys.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Second one, YouTube from Akker. He says, good evening from Amsterdam. There you go. That's close to you.
Hi, Amsterdam.
And then YouTube, Trucker Alistair. He's one of our regular visitors, and I didn't realize he spoke German. He says, Herr Buck, wo ist Ihre Sonnenbrille? Good to see you guys again. So do you have an answer for that?
I don't know. I promised my guys I'm going to ask who of the two is Ray and who's Ben. I'm not wearing sunglasses.
And then we have a YouTube, Watch Rebuilds is here. We get a lot of Rich Rebuilds plugs here because this particular viewer's name is Watch Rebuilds channel. He says, good morning, guys. Good morning to you as well. And so, Conrad, I'm curious, what is the relationship with Tesla there in Germany with you?
It's a bit difficult. It's, as you know, Tesla exchanges lots of their stuff quite regular.
Yes.
So the ones that I met in the beginning in my next service center, which is in Frankfurt, there was one of those technicians there. He was in a very first set of employees. So he was one of the rangers still for Roadsters. When he started, there was only a handful of Roadsters in Germany. And I think 3, 4, 5 technicians. One is still there. The other ones are, the most of them are gone. Yeah. So I lost even contact to those. They also never gave me any internas, but they gave me good clues. For example, when I asked, where can I get those? I says, well, I can't give it to you, but there's something which is similar design. Look at this there. One guy, he worked for Lotus before, says, look, far more parts than you think are interchangeable from Lotus. It just says Tesla because some screw is somewhere or some little hole is drilled in there and then it's redesigned. So you don't find it on the market. So once you go through the shelves of Lotus, you find many pieces. So it's not surprised, or you're not surprised if I buy my wheel bolts. I buy them from Lotus. I buy brake parts of these original AP calipers. I buy them from Lotus. I buy steering parts from Lotus. Short steering, if people want it to sports drive. Many parts. The Opel parts, the GM parts, the Ford parts, like the locks for the
latching mechanisms.
Exactly. All those. You have to redesign a few parts of this, and but still, those guys helped in those ways. Right now is that we wanted to start something like a body store here for Tesla, but we decided not. We sat together and decided not, because once you have a body shop for Tesla, you're not allowed to open a PEM. You're not allowed to open anything on the car. You're not allowed to open an MCU from a Model S. No, you're just allowed to fix broken bodies or spray paint something.
And you have
And
to
everything else
replace.
is a
Yeah.
secret, and they have to everything else is a secret, and they tell you don't touch this, and this is not what we want. We want to open this. When I was a little boy, when my watch was broken, I opened it. Well, I didn't fix it, but I knew what
Yeah.
was inside.
We share something in common. I am thoroughly convinced that it was the old electronics repair people, the ones that used to component level repair televisions, for example, or radios. That was my high school job, by the way, was fixing stuff like that. Those people are rare these days. And in order to work on something like a Tesla Roadster, where the parts aren't available anymore, you have to be able to component level troubleshoot. You have to know what those transformers and diodes and MOSFETs are, what they do, and what kind of test equipment you need to determine which ones are defective, and then how to solder. Even down to the surface type, the surface mount soldering. So I respect your background, and I can see why you're successful repairing Roadsters.
Thank you.
So
Well,
the
we want to carry
relationship.
on fixing roads. So this is
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned right now, we are one of the only shops there's other guys also fixing Roadsters, so I don't want to say we're the only one, but we are the only one in Europe which fix everything on the Roadster. So if you come with a Roadster, it's not only to exchange the foils in the PEM, or to exchange a capacitor, or I don't know, to check a cable somewhere. It's the suspension, it's the brakes, it's the HVAC, which is a big thing, because some parts of this car are terribly misdesigned, like the cooler, the radiator of the HVAC with those alloy pipes on the side.
Yeah.
It sits from the bottom right in the stream of sand and stone and whatever from your front drivers. And when it starts corrode, those long alloy pipes, they start vibrating and they just break.
Yeah.
And then you go to Tesla, and even if they have one of those, you pay a fortune for a new radiator. You have to buy some fans as well, which you don't need, because the fans on top never break. Or did you ever had a broken fan?
The Spall fans, no. And I can tell you a bit about the reason for that cost. We sell that part to Tesla, and part of what we do is we try to revive the old vendors or find replacement parts that are made to the original spec. And
that's
those,
the same we do. Yeah.
yeah, and those condenser assemblies, we get those actually from Europe. There's a high minimum order quantity on those, and we have to order like 60 at a time. We sell those to Tesla, and the cost is high. I don't think their markup is unreasonable. I know what it is, and I can't share that, but it is not unreasonable. We find a lot of the parts, because they're such small run parts, tend to get expensive. And then some of the things we have to recreate. We 3D print some parts in the PEM, for example. All the original molds are mostly gone from Tesla. And but the reason I wanted to ask you about the relationship with Tesla is, what we're finding here in the United States is that Tesla is beginning to realize that people like us are valuable, that we are able to do things that the service centers can't do, like open up the PEM instead of swapping it out. And they're going to be running out of those parts soon anyway. So it's important that companies like us are around and an option for customers that have a broken car and are able to go inside and do component level repair.
Yeah, the thing is, even if I get a car with a PEM where it says it's remanufactured on the side, I tell you the truth, I'm not driving 1 meter with this car before I've changed the foils in there, because they're the worst PEMs of them all. And then Tesla must have. You heard about this climate demonstrations in Germany where they glue themselves on the road.
No.
There
What's
must
that
be.
about?
We've got for demonstrations to you stop normal traffic. There's the demonstrants that glue themselves on the road to stop traffic, to put an eye for all people we have to change climate.
Okay.
We have to
climate
change
change
the global
activists.
warming. So they glue themselves on the road, stop traffic. Many people hate them. I understand that some of them, maybe for some of them, it looks like it's a TikTok challenge to glue yourself on a road. No, it's not. You want to wake up people to check. We can't go on like this. So besides that, this glue must have been somewhere before, and Tesla must have bought hundreds of liters to put all those screws on the how you call it, the contactors. Why in the hell do you have in a PEM lots of nylon stop screws?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
On the contactors, they glue them on with 3 liters of glue, and you can't open it. Why?
Or you break them taking them off. You know what we've started to do is we will actually preheat them before we try to loosen them. And
exactly. I have a 100-watt soldering bolt, and I've got a nut on 13 millimeters, which I cut off, and it's inside the soldering bolt. You just press it on the screw like for 10 seconds, and you quickly undo it.
That's a thread lock. Yes, an overuse of thread lock. So it sounds like you run into the same challenges that we do then.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a couple more YouTube questions here. Apparently, there was an Aptera event that we missed. It ended just before we started this podcast. We'll have to review that. Aptera, the solar company that makes a solar car here in California. It's a 3-wheeler. And it's a pretty exciting concept. You can go 40 miles just by charging with the solar panels on the car. And the price is reasonable too. I think it's in the $25,000-$30,000 range or something. So it's there. Then we've got a YouTube question from Watch Rebuild's channel again. That's just like the Model S is an upside down steering rack from the Land Rover or an SUV like that. Many parts of Tesla is from other brands, correct?
Exactly.
We have a DC to DC converter from a Model S, and it's got a Toyota part number on it. The 2.0 compressor has a Fomoco part, Ford Motor Company, which of course is smart, because if you're going to make a car, why recreate every component if you have components that could be utilized that already have reached the scale of economies?
Well, and I know you guys have seen Bosch parts inside the cars as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very much so.
Yeah, we even got Volkswagen parts in the Roadster.
Yeah. Oh, I remember my Ferrari.
What is it? It's for the garage opener. How you call it?
Is it like
garage
their home link?
You know what I'm talking about.
The
home link issue.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's got an Audi Volkswagen sign on it.
Yeah, much cheaper too. I remember my Ferrari, there was a motor in there. I think it was a water pump. And of course, the Ferrari version was almost $1,000, and you could go down and get a Volkswagen part that was $120. Same thing, same part, just rebranded. Somebody's making a lot of profit on that,
I had a Ducati motorbike, and it had the oil pressure switch, and it costed that Ducati a fortune. But you could buy it from a Fendt tractor, and it cost $2.
On YouTube, Francisco Zermano Jr. says good morning as well.
Good morning, yes.
And Thomas Curtis says on YouTube, Aptera rocks, solar power for EVs.
Cool.
Yes.
So, Conrad, you work on more than just Roadster. Tell us about the other electric vehicles that you're able to service in your area.
Well, we service actually all electric vehicles which come around. What we do what we have a bit of a problem is with Renault cars, because we get no support from Renault at all. And unfortunately, our experience is that those workshops who sell electric cars for Renault, they're incapable of all those repairs. Sometimes we get cars with the most silly defects, and they were like for half a year in a workshop somewhere. Just talking about a standard 12-volt battery, which is the major fault on the most EVs once they don't start. Smarts, major fault, 12-volt battery. Renault Zoe, major fault, 12-volt battery. We had a car, I don't know if you know it in America, but we have a car, it's like a little truck. It's called the street scooter. It was a design from a company in Aachen by the Belgian border. And the DHL, the Post, they were driving lots of those things. As actually the Post has got an old tradition for electric vehicles. Like in the very beginning in Europe, they started with electric cars. And every now and then they had the attempt with more electric cars. So this was the last one. But for some reason, they needed to put some money in development for this car, and they never did. So the thing is dying now. So we got hundreds and thousands of these little trucks out there, and nobody fixes them. You can all bring them to us. We fix them. We know the problems. It's nothing serious. The most of these things are easy. Those things have one problem. Once you have a Model S and it's bricked, nothing with the major battery, the 12-volt battery, the standard thing. So you open the nose cone, you put your plus and minus, you restart the car and bring it to the next garage and exchange the thing. If you do that on one of those street scooters, the DC-DC converter for the 12-volt battery is like one of those Z-Tech things, and you come there with one of those booster things, and the Z-Tech goes up in smoke, and everybody says, EVs burn! No, they don't burn. It's just a DC-DC converter. How many EVs did you see? Oh, no, I'm not talking about. There's Willie outside.
No, the whole ratio of ICE versus EVs and catching on fire is completely overrated. And of course, what makes the headlines is when an electric vehicle catches fire, because everyone expects it. And,
yeah.
It looks like
what we're doing here as well with getting all the skills for having an EV workshop. You have very high security laws in Europe for that. So you have got EV standards, which is okay. You're not supposed to fiddle around with an electric vehicle if you don't know what you do. So if you just grab the wrong cable, you can die on the spot, because DC 400 volts is killer.
It's lethal. Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you should know what you grab. You should know what you touch, and don't touch the wrong thing. So we're giving trainings like a legal training for workshops, how to handle an EV. We give them trainings at the second stage. What can you fix if your master comes or your trained technician comes and pulls the service the service plug, service disconnect, or just shut it down the car. Then you can work on the car. We even got a third level, which is you are allowed to work on a car you can develop a battery, you can build a battery, you can work on a battery, you can work on an open car. The same things you had to learn when you started to train as a combustion engine mechanic, because if you work with a suit and you've got a tie, you don't put your head over the running engine, because it can pull your tie and you're dead.
Right.
Yeah.
First thing, you come as a fireman on a accident site and there's a car, you switch off the engine. So we train here fire guys and policemen. When you come on an accident site, first thing is make that hole safe, because otherwise, if some 400-volt cable is on the chassis, the person inside there who's insured, you want to free the person and you want to save them. But they're in the Faraday cage, nothing happens to them. But you grab with your pliers or whatever you want to cut out, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because you give it ground for that. So switch off the car before.
Yeah.
That's what people must learn. But this is such a small step, and in a few years we're not talking about this anymore.
Yeah. We there are a few more questions coming in, Conrad. Bayan, Danish Genome Institute, joins us regularly in our podcasts, and he says, good morning. He's in Belgium, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Aptera owners to repair everything will provide complete documentation. All right, so that's a commitment by Aptera. It was a good webinar. Maybe you can help with electronics and repairability. By the way, what we find here, Conrad, is that some of these EV manufacturers are not going to be able to build their service delivery quickly enough to meet their production goals. So they're going to be looking for companies like us that already have expertise in a variety of EVs. So expect them to eventually come visit you as well. They will ask you to do warranty work, train you, give you parts, give you support. So things are going to improve for us out here in the independent space. Then we have YouTube, Douglas Duncan. He says, just taking my Model S with 123,000 miles from Edinburgh to Inverness in Scotland tonight. We get a lot of international visitors on these podcasts, and it's always fun to see where they come in from. He says, my window was eventually fixed. Thanks for sending the regulator. He apparently bought our the window regulator, even though it got lost enjoying your chat. Thank you. I hope it finally got to you. And then YouTube, Wayne Levitt, he says a Porsche 924 has an Audi 100 engine. All engine parts, buy them from Audi at half the price. That makes sense.
Exactly.
YouTube, Watch Rich Rebuilds channel. Simply says, oops, wrong wire.
Lightning bolts.
With a lot of lightning bolts and somebody fried.
Yeah. Very good. So is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about your capabilities or your company, Conrad?
Well, we're a workshop. We fix electric cars.
That's it, in a nutshell. Yes.
Yeah.
And you are pretty centrally located in Germany. Kassel is near what major cities? Maybe you can talk about that.
Kassel.
Kassel.
My home is my Kassel. Kassel is right here. It's where when you get the map of Germany, you just throw a dart and you hit the center, you're right there. And we have the north-south axle. It's the highway A7, and it's right in the middle. And we're like, from here you can see the cars on the highway, and there's a supercharger 100 meters in the other direction. So everything is around here.
So you're centrally located. Very good.
Now, a question I have for you, Conrad. We recently learned about some Roadsters that have been sitting in containers since 2010.
Those Chinese ones.
Those Chinese ones. I wondered have you heard about them, and do you have any comments about those barn find Roadsters?
Well, I'm quite curious about the batteries because, as if you predicted, Pete, if the service disconnects are pulled on those cars and they were charged 50%, if they standardly had those 30% and the disconnects are out, I don't know. But if they had charged 50%, or even if the BMBs were pulled, then they're working.
Yeah.
Because I had a battery here. In fact, today I took a car which was in for almost a year in winter garage, and I had just pulled the service disconnect to find out how it worked, and it only lost 1 kilometer of range.
Really?
Wow.
Over the whole year. And it was no BMB pulled, it was just the battery disconnected. That's all. I once got a battery which was 6 years old from a wrecked car, and the BMBs were pulled and the battery was fully intact.
Really? Okay, so you're actually corroborating our suspicion, which is there's a possibility that these 13-year-old cars, if the service plug was pulled, may actually function.
You're all lucky we are not British, otherwise we would make bettings right now.
Yes. So we're getting all kinds of bids for these cars currently, and it's way too low. I think the highest right now is $225,000 for all three of them. The other thing that I find, Conrad, is people don't realize that if you buy one of these and you spend, into six figures for one of these, it's not a car that you're going to want to drive. The value is in the 0 miles. So this is going to become garage furniture. It's going to be like that Van Gogh on your wall. It's to be looked at and not driven. And the other thing that we found on Twitter, actually, by the way, Elon commented on this post too, and suddenly we were faced with getting how many views on that now? 4.7 million, I think.
Yeah, yesterday it was over 4.7 million. It's probably much higher now. I'll double check.
It's probably over 5, yeah. So what we learned there was that when Elon takes notice of something, your viewers are going to increase exponentially beyond your wildest So, but anyway, what somebody pointed out on Twitter was, why doesn't Elon buy these? He's got money, right? Plenty of it. Richest man, I think, right?
Close, yeah.
And these are the early history of Tesla. These should be in the main factory front lobby as a display instead of being driven.
When you think, when you just think about it, we're talking about that only vehicle which changed driving, because no other car changed so much. Okay, at some stage, Bertha Benz drove with this first combustion car around, and yes, it was a car. It was with a combustion engine. Many cars came after it. There was a first episode of electric cars, like Grandmother Duck from Donald Duck.
Yeah,
she had the Detroit electric car. Nobody knows that, but Donald Duck's grandmother had an electric car. So there was many electric cars, but only the Tesla Roadster was a car. It has a lithium-ion battery. It is sexy. It is fast. It is smart, and it's fun to drive, and it's a Roadster. So if this was a Mercedes, it would now already cost like $1 million. Because when
Yeah.
you think about the Roadster was out already, the Model S was out already, Volkswagen struggling to keep line with Tesla, they built a car, it was called the XL1. Leonard Nimoy as Spock made advertisements on TV with that thing. It was actually a squarish EV1 from General Motors, and it was a hybrid car. Who needs a hybrid car? A hybrid car is a combination of the disadvantages of an EV with the disadvantages of a combustion car.
Well
so you're
said.
driving a battery around and a tank around. What need that for?
Right.
Well said.
Twice
Yes.
the maintenance. You nailed it.
So now you've got this car, and when you work on it, and you work on it daily, each of those cars is handmade. There are single cars. It's a prototype, and we're not talking about 2,500 cars. We're talking about 1,500 and 1,000 for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Because there's a handful of American Roadsters in Germany or in Europe, and there's probably also only a handful of rest of the world Roadsters in America. For whatever reason ever. We know that the 2.0 and the 2.5 are interchangeable. You can do that, but you don't get a license for that one here because they're not approved, and you need for the roadworthy here in Europe, you need to spend a fortune. So why getting a car in America there? So it's a seriously limited amount of cars, and BMW made something like how was it called, a Z8? How many cars did they made of it? Of this thing what James Bond drove in the movie? They're far more than Tesla Roadsters, and they cost 10 times as much as they were new. Or not 10, that's maybe exaggerate, but they cost far more than they were new. So Roadsters are a bargain. You buy modern technology, you buy a piece of history, you buy a sports car, a hell of a fun, and it's a bargain. It's like now a Model S Plaid. It's a bargain. Where else do you get this power?
Yeah.
This technique, you get it there. Other ones talking, oh, we're bringing next year, we're bringing this car. No, we're bringing one which is even better. Nobody brings them. They all go bankrupt before they bring them.
Yeah.
But this one is driving around.
And
so Roadsters are there.
Yeah, you're right about the Roadster. I mean, what other electric vehicle is fun, sporty, two-seater, convertible? There's nothing out there yet like that, But
exactly.
It's going to be interesting to see what these cars eventually sell for. At this point, they're the valuation is well below the market. The other thing I wanted to ask you: let's assume that the batteries are shot. For some reason, they were irresponsible and left the service plugs in there, and these are completely drained and they're shot. It seems to me that all the deferred maintenance in this car could just simply remain in the car if it's going to be a piece of art on a wall somewhere. And it would probably...
Why do you want to make it a piece of art? Why? We're working here. I'm working here, in fact, on an alternative battery, not a Tesla battery. It's an alternative piece. It's not ready yet. But we're working on one of those, which you put into a Roadster. It's a box which fits in a Roadster. It's an electronic in there which emulates the Roadster. I am a Roadster battery, but it's not a Roadster battery. The only thing you see is on your VDS, you see the proper mileage. Anything else is bullshit what you read there, but you can read it on a battery. It must be a thing with maybe Porsche cells or Audi cells or whatever. Cells, whatever you can get, you must get your 400 volts together, you must get your BSM together, and you must get your communication together. Don't exchange your original watt battery with your original Sanyo power tool cells for a new battery if you can keep that under a blanket in your garage with pulled BMBs and says, that's the original. Because at some stage, they're all gone. The Roadster PEM and the charger are designed for those old cells, not for newer cells. So have a battery with an own charger, what you maybe can fast charge, then you can drive around. And if you can say the original one is there. Don't give it away, keep it.
Right.
There's a smart coming around. Yes.
We have a question actually that is in that realm as well from Rich Rebuilds again. He says, just curious, what is Conrad's everyday vehicle? Maybe you can reiterate that.
It used to be a Model S. My everyday vehicle is a smart coupe, ED.
A smart coupe, okay.
Yeah, or otherwise the blue Roadster you saw earlier on.
We saw
And
pictures of it earlier.
otherwise,
Yeah, we saw
yeah,
pictures of it.
you saw pictures of it earlier. Well, we have a Roadster, a signal group in Europe, and I was showing pictures. That's the thing about, again, back on the Roadster issue.
Yeah.
I was invited to come with a blue Roadster with an electric vehicle to the classic 100 anniversary of this classical Kassel mountain park race. So the youngest car allowed to start there was, I think, 1952, 1955.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an honor for me to start there, a safety car in the front. And at some stage, I had a group. I supply you with a photo. It was some Bugatti, some Alfa Romeo 8C, whatever from
Wow.
1930. Only those things.
Right.
They were driving as if the devil was behind them. Like, surely the one was saying, "Why don't you go faster? We want to have it flying here." So I thought they all throw them in this. No, they drove them a Proton, Rileys, I don't know, old BMWs. And then I was asking the one guy, says, "Do you accept me with my EV here?" So the nicest one was a guy who was saying, "It looks like a Roadster. It rattles like a Roadster. You can open the roof. It drives like a Roadster. You are a friend." So I thought, that's it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And I was saying, like, "Why do you drive electric?" I was telling him, "Look, Americans don't make the greatest engine." I must say that as a German. So we kept it to that point that we just made a bigger starter engine. We just keep on driving with a starter engine. So leave the combustion engine out.
Yeah.
And it works.
So it looks like one of the comments we have is from Bayon Danish Genome Institute, and he corrected us. Thank you. He's from Aarhus, Denmark. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And it looks like we're over an hour. It's been enjoyable, and we would like to have you back on this show as well. Did you have fun, Conrad?
Well, absolutely.
Okay, all right, good. You paused too long there. You had me worried there for a minute, but we really appreciate
No, all right. Well, next time I'm a bit more prepared, and I would like to share also some a call out. We urgently need a pecan board for a 1.5 PEM.
Oh, okay. All right. Boards are in very short supply, but I'll certainly check to see what if anything, we have available. Is it broken to the point where it can't be repaired? Are you there, Conrad? Oops, I think we've cut off.
I think he froze.
Okay. Hang on a second here. It's amazing technology. We're able to bring in people from all parts of the world and actually have live video.
That's right. Well, if whether Conrad is able to come back or not, we deeply appreciate the time that he was able to spend with us.
Yes.
Made for a wonderful podcast this morning.
And it looks like in the meantime, until Conrad comes back from YouTube, Wayne Levitt, he says, it's 2 a.m. I'm in Perth, Australia. Well, thank you for joining us and staying up or getting up for this podcast. He said, if you ever need a Roadster looked at in the Perth area, I can go and report on it for you. I have worked and restored many cars. My best full resto was a Lotus 7 MK4. Love your shows. Well, thank you very much, Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Thomas Curtis did also say on YouTube, the VW XL1 should go electric.
Uh-huh. And we've got Thomas Curtis clapping hands.
Okay, we can wrap it up.
Okay, did we lose Conrad?
Yeah, Conrad dropped out of the Zoom call. We're still live and everything's still good. So
Okay.
I don't know what happened. He lost internet.
All right. Well, he'll be able to watch the tail end of the show then after we post on YouTube, and that's true for any of you. If you missed portions of it, you want to see this this entire podcast, we post these on YouTube, and the guys are real good about putting timestamps in there as well, so you can see what the various topics are and zoom right into those.
I know that we also post on Spotify. And feel free to come back, watch us. We will be here next on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And for those few people that also watch our Roadster podcast on Wednesdays, that is moving to 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Wednesdays as well, instead of the old slot of 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
It was actually Conrad that convinced us that that would be a good idea because 4 o'clock our time was 1 a.m. his time, and he was having trouble, despite having copious amounts of coffee,
Yes.
staying awake for that podcast. So
Yes.
we have an international audience, and we're just going to do these at 10 o'clock then. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, Thursday are the EV, broader issues, and then Wednesday is the Roadster specific. So if
That's
you're into
right.
Roadsters and like those. Finally, I wanted to share with you our Roadster matchmaking site on our website is getting enormous amounts of visibility and traffic. We offer a free listing service for any Roadsters, and we'll eventually be expanding that into other Teslas. So if you're looking to sell one or you'd like to buy one, there are a large number of Tesla Roadsters for sale on that site. And our mission, I get asked this all the time, we are a dating service. We're going to unite buyer with seller and then get out of the way, and you guys take it from there with negotiations and details and all that. If you like, we can come back in afterwards and help with escrow. We have free escrow.
Yes.
For sales. Mark even gets, and his accounting team gets involved in titling issues. We've got a Canadian customer selling a U.S. Roadster, and anyway, we can help with all of that as a vehicle dealer. So again, thank you for joining us.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna
Yep.
pull up. You had that image of Conrad's contact info.
Oh yeah, yeah, let's do that. That's true.
And while Jesse is pulling that up, I do want to give a quick plug for one of our first pieces of merchandise. We do have our sunglasses case out. This right here is a Signature Series. We serialize these. This one happens to be Signature Series 4. Pete's signature and the Gruber Motor Company on the back.
And we also talked about being able to put your VIN number on these sunglass cases.
Yes, most
you have
definitely.
a Signature Roadster, a Founder's Roadster, whatever you have, or just a regular Roadster, we will create and customize a sunglass, and these are leather, by the way, and have your car information on there as well. So that's available to you. And how soon, guys, do you think it'll be before we get those on our website, make those visible?
So we're still working on getting those finalized, probably within the next week or two, and then we'll also be updating our front page of the website to put the times of the shows and other stuff on there. So there'll be some customizations to the website over the next maybe week or two.
Perfect.
Great.
All right. And then finally, before we close, Car and Drone just came in and he says, wow, nice. Thank you. And he's clapping. All right. And PC says, have a great day. Thomas Curtis is clapping hands. I think we already did that. We will see you next week, Tuesday, then. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.